Hello, Bruce here. Today it's time to tune up this little Mantua 040 that they marketed often as their booster, Mantua booster. It's saddle tank 040, little switcher. Really doesn't have an American prototype, but they're neat nonetheless, and always been one that caught my eye. So when I saw this one come up at a reasonable price on eBay, I got it. It was marketed as a runner, so let's first check and see whether that's accurate or not. And indeed it is, but I can tell from the discoloration on the wheels that it has indeed been a long time since this locomotive's been on the tracks. So I just want to do a bit of a tune-up on it today. I think I'll start while I have it in this cradle to clean the wheels up a bit so that it will operate on tracks better. So let's see if we can do that. Have a Scotch-Brite pad here, and give us some juice on the wheels. Actually, I think it's going to be this one and this one. So, yeah, maybe I can get this alligator clip to clip on here. Back it out just a little bit, give me something to grab on. Let's see if I can okay, there we go. Clean that wheel back there. These Teflon pads do a fairly good job of cleaning the wheels. My father-in-law was a machinist, and he used to swear by these things. He brought home a plastic bag full of scraps of this many years ago, and I'm still living off of those. Looking pretty good. Try it on the tracks in a second and see whether that's worked. All right, let's just give that a try on the tracks. Alright, tighten that screw up again before I put it on the tracks. And let's see. Make sure you can see it back there. Let's give it a little juice and see. It wants to move. Alright, not bad for no lubrication yet, so we'll go on with the lubrication next. Put this back in the cradle, take it apart. Let's get you back in focus here. Now the shell on these is just held on really with just a front screw here. This screw here should do it. a long screw. And indeed, let's slide this backwards a little bit. Let's see what and there we are. And the power is coming off of the side of the locomotive itself here. Everything is kind of connected on these die-cast engines. So I'll have to leave it somewhat like that. I think I'll remove one of the brushes so I can see the commutator. So again, let me make sure that you can see what I'm doing here. So if you've never taken off the brush on one of these, it's extremely easy. They have these springs on the top. You just remove one, that loosens up the brush, and you just play with it until it comes out. And there's the brush, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bit of a groove on that brush, but it still has more life in it. And they are replaceable, so I'm just wiping that off. And while I have it in my hands, I'll run over it with a little round file a little bit to where some of the contacts go and make sure that nice and bright and shiny again. Alright, so put that aside. And there's the commutator, which is fairly bright. Let's see if you can, yeah, you can see the commutator there. But I do have my nylon brush here, so while I have it, I'm going to just clean off the commutator. Sometimes there's a buildup of carbon on these. This one looks in pretty good shape. Of course, the brushes, as they're rubbing along the commutator, tend to keep it clean too, as long as somebody doesn't gunk everything up with too much lubrication. While I'm doing this, I'm just looking for my toothpick a minute. Probably buried under something because I've been doing a couple locomotives today. So what I try to do is get any carbon buildup out of the slots between the various faces of the commutator, just because if it's carbon, of course it'll conduct electricity and can affect the separation of these different faces and affect the operation of the motor. So that looks good. Put the brush back in. Okay, hold my finger on the back of that and loop this spring back over the top of it. And there we are. And again, while I have it like this, let me just put a little power onto each of those brushes and make sure that everything's operating good. Put a little more power there. Looking good. So we will, when we have it out, put a drop of oil on each of the bearings on the shaft of the engine here, keeping it away from the motor. We can get one drop back here, and some on the valve gear and side rods, just a drop. Alrighty. Reinsert. And I think again while it's out, let's see, I think I can put this back in to hold it all together. And take the bottom plate off just to look at the lubrication on the axles. Again, when you buy these off of eBay, you have no idea. You have no idea of what its life was like or anything else, but you have no idea how long it's been since it had any servicing at all. Actually, it doesn't look too bad, but I think I'm going to try to, with a little bit of Q-tip and a little bit of alcohol, which I have over here, just wipe up some of the excess oil, and then I'll put a drop of my own lubrication in. But clean off the contact. And see how this works with just a drop of oil on it. And the same on each side here. And finally, I can put the bottom plate back on. Little screws in. Actually, the locomotive is from the die-cast era, but this bottom plate is plastic. And this is the first of these little shunters that I've had, so I'm not sure whether at one point they came out with metal base plates on them or not. But I'm going to have to do something about the couplers on them, but this front one is broken. It's not wide enough for a KD. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit. But, yeah. Okay, let's just put a dab of grease on that gear. Just try it back on the track again. Put it on a fairly low speed and put a little juice on the wheels here. And a little more grease, and we'll call it good for now. So this is an undecorated model, so I have to decide whether I'm going to use dry transfer letters and letter it for the logging railroad that I have, which is the Slate Run. Reverse that. A little more. Ah, now she's running fairly smooth. A little lubrication do wonders. Alright, let's reconnect that to the track. Just wipe a little bit of grease off here and see what we got. I do like this has to be washed up a bit, but you know, if you look at the front, you see that there's a pair of marker lamps on it, which have jewels on them, green and red jewels, or green and amber jewels. The rear does have jeweled by the light, and the front does not, so I'll look through my stash and find one. Add the couplers, clean up the shell, letter it, and we're good to go. Alrighty. Does have a bit of gear noise to it, but it's actually going fairly slow in each direction. Well, once I get it on a layout and let it run around a few times, I think that'll help too. So that'll take all for now on just some servicing on this new little Mantua. I do like my Mantuas. They're built like little tanks. And this one in particular is built like a little tank, or at least a tank engine. So pardon the pun. If you enjoy my videos, give them a like. If you find that you want to keep track of my new videos, then you can subscribe, and talk to you again soon.